Welcome to Horror Movie Massacre presented by the Horror Syndicate. Um, Sorry we're a little tardy tonight. I was having computer. You should hear the sound my computer was making before the show. It was ugly, to say the least. So I had to restart my computer and let it go through that long ass process. Papa needs a new computer. Please send checks to Razor at the Horror Syndicate. Venmo me. No, anyway. Uh, yeah, it's been crazy. I started this new job last week and I fucked up my sleep. I didn't even get to watch Phantasm II, which I've only seen twice. And I explained to Seth that there's a reason behind it. He's like, "Don't you own the Blu-rays?" I'm like, "Yeah, but it's not streaming anywhere." And my lazy ass will only watch the one, three, four, and even Ravager more than I've seen the second movie, which he does say that it's the best. And based off my memory of it, which isn't great because I don't think I've watched it since 2019, um, and that was only my second time. But it's good. I know it's good. It's kind of better made. It's less trippy. It's less weird. We got a recast situation with one of the main characters, and which I want to definitely talk about because I did hear that Coscarelli got the choice, either Mike or Reg. One of them has to go and get recast, and he chose Reg, which I do think was the wise choice because Reggie's he's the crux. I mean, people think the Tall Man is the franchise, but I believe Reggie's the franchise. Of course, we also get the introduction of the quad barrel shotgun in this one. Um, Reggie gets his head licked by I think her name's Alchemy. So we'll get into it. This is going to be a lot of Seth, and here is a lot of Seth. Sequel Seth, and this is a sequel, and
Love
this
it.
is his number
Seth.
one. Hmm. What?
I said a lot of glitchy Seth, I think.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, so let's talk about Phantasm 2. Why don't you kind of give us a rundown of what this one's about, and we'll talk about what you like and what you don't like, and I'll kind of sit on the sidelines, even though I do have a score.
Yeah. Well, again, as I mentioned last week, anyone who says they could tell you what Phantasm's about is full of shit. But to the best that we could put together, part two begins where the first one ended, with the tall man basically coming for Mike in the house. We get an extension of that sequence where Reggie ends up saving him by blowing up the house. A few years later, Mike is in therapy, whereas Reggie, for some reason, doesn't believe anything. And then when Mike gets out, Reggie finds him at a cemetery, goes to bring him home to try to help him. Again, trying to tell him that nothing that he thought happened. And then the tall man ends up blowing up Reggie's house, killing his wife and kids. And so then Mike and Reggie hit the road to hunt down the tall man. And that's the basic gist of this one.
Yeah, they become Sam and Dean Winchester.
That's right.
Yeah. Who do you think has a cooler car? Sam and Dean or Reg and Mike? Yeah, put you on the spot.
I don't know. They're both equally cool.
Yeah, I agree. By the way,
Yep.
for anybody checking in, make sure you hit the like button for us so we can spread this like a germ, and on Facebook while we're live or after. And don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. If you have a Gmail account, you can subscribe. And we're closing in on 1,500, which is the goal for the end of the year. And don't forget, we have a Facebook page. Check out what you're watching on, probably. Check it out. We do all kinds of great stuff on the Facebook page. 5-star reviews, throw up our articles, but it gets even better. We have a Facebook group. where you yourself can go and put things about horror and start your own conversations. Seth has taken over the Facebook group, and he's been posting a lot of great content for the Horror Syndicate between polls, which we can't do on the page for some reason, but polls, articles, just questions about movies, and he's kicking some ass. So make sure you check out the Facebook group. It's just called the Horror Syndicate Group, yeah, join. We'll let you in unless you have a sketchy ass profile. Because I saw one today. I don't know if you saw it, Seth, but it was they had one friend. I'm like, no, get out of here. We're not accepting that. But yeah, tell your friends. The Horror Syndicate on Facebook, the Horror Syndicate group, thehorrorsyndicate.com, and of course, the Horror Syndicate on YouTube. So, go ahead and continue. Well, you don't need to continue. Let's talk about. See, I have slight recollections of things in this movie. For some reason, a lot of it revolves around. Like I remember them going straight to the cemetery, a weird cemetery too, and searching for the tall man. I remember the priest getting the new ball, the tall man with his own liquids transferring or something. It's hard to like again. Phantasm is something that is so hard to explain when all five of them. And that's why I don't think you could ever say any of them are shit movies, because that if you can say, oh, that's a great movie, that means you understand what's going on. So, but one of the things I did want to talk about with this was, do you think they made the right call in keeping Reggie over Mike, what is his name, William Baldwin? And had you heard that?
Well, kind of, because yeah, I did hear that before. Because I think even the studio didn't want Reggie either, but Casarelli fought for him. It was almost the same situation that Kevin Smith went through when he went to make Mallrats with Universal, same company, where they're doing a sequel-ish to a independent film, and then they want to recast. I think they did, because I mean Casarelli did kind of make Reggie was sort of just he wasn't really huge in the first one. He was just kind of like a minor supporting character. It was really about Jody and Mike.
Yeah, and Jody.
So with Jody dead, and right, not at all. So with that, they made Reggie the central character along with Mike. As far as which act, I mean, I suppose, I mean, I don't think Reggie Bannister is like a great actor or anything, but he brings some fun personality. Michael Baldwin, I do like him as Mike. I was glad to see him come back for 3 and 4 and 5, but I like James LeGros, or I don't know if I'm saying his last name correctly there, but I like James as the character.
I think it's
Mike.
LeGros.
So that, huh?
I think it's LeGros. I think that's
LeGros.
LeGros or LeGros or some shit. I don't know. He writes sex books for children. So no, not him. Sorry. Did you watch that scene, by the way?
Yeah, I don't have. Did you send it to me?
I did. Damn it, you didn't watch it? They're wildly inappropriate or wildly unpopular. Yeah. I'll send it to you again. It was fucking hilarious. But yeah. Anyway, go ahead. Keep going. Moving on with that.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically. I think they did make the right choice with keeping Reggie, I'm fine with James as Mike, and it's nothing against a Michael Baldwin either, because he was fine in the first film. You know, as far as kid actors go, I mean, I thought he was pretty good in that. And he's, you know, yeah, and it was good to see him come back for the further sequels, and it kind of sucked for him that he had to get passed over for this one. Um, but yeah,
I mean, that's one of my biggest complaints is that, like, I don't have a problem with them recasting the role, and I get it, but I think my biggest complaint is, and I understand why Coscarelli brought a Michael Baldwin. I don't know why I call him William Baldwin, but there's too many Baldwins in Hollywood. But you know, I get why he brought him back, but I kind of wish they would have stuck with the other guy for the rest of the franchise because A. Michael Baldwin got really weird looking as he got older. Started looking like a really old lady in his 30s, which you know, like, and but he's not seen much in the rest of the franchise after this one anyway. The character, I mean, if I remember correctly, because I think Reg is kind of searching for him, isn't he? Whoa.
he's well, no, he is. I mean, 3 they're together for a little bit,
Yeah.
and then they go their separate ways, and then Reg is looking for him, and then 4 they are completely separate for most of the stuff. But I mean, yeah, Mike is still a prominent character in 3 and 4, at the very least. He's very little in part 5, but 3 and 4 there's a lot of Mike on his own separate journeys.
That's right.
And that's when we get the return of Jody.
I gotta rewatch the rest of them. This is ridiculous. I shouldn't even be here. So tell us what you like about this one, versus because I know you've said numerous times, and it's with just like any sequel, you prefer this to the 1979 film. Tell us why, if you can, and kind of tell us the things you do like about this one, and then we'll get into what bothers you, if there is anything about this one.
Yeah, so like just to start off, I absolutely love the first film as well.
Yeah.
But the part 2, which I'm starting to see is kind of an unpopular opinion. I mean, this guy Eric isn't the first one. I mean, even talking with you, where you're not really big on part 2, I'm starting to see where not a lot of people love part 2 as much as me. But for me personally, there's something about Phantasm II. It's kind of like it has that same sort of effect that Nightmare on Elm Street 4, the Dream Master, has on me, where it just makes me happy. You know, I put in this movie and I just have fun from beginning to end. I absolutely love it, and I think the cool thing too is, you know, because Coscarelli, he got a budget now, he got studio back, and it's a great looking film. He's, you know, there's a lot more great effects and a lot of really cool stuff, a lot of bigger and better action sequences, and it's just a whole different animal than the first one. The first one, there was, you know, sort of like this almost a sense of mystery of like the characters trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. And then by the time you get to this one, the characters know what's going on, and instead of it chasing them, they're now chasing it. So they're actively pursuing this evil, and they're, you know, so they're more, the characters are more heroic. You know, again, the ante is upped this time. And, you know, and I also love this like really small detail too, where, you know, the characters are still heroes. Like they go into a shop after hours, take a bunch of gear, and Reggie opens up the cash register, and then he puts money in there. Now it's still stealing, all right, and he probably didn't have the total sum of all the stuff that they took. But I really like the idea of the fact that these guys are just so good that, you know, even though they do something illegal, you know, they still like try to pay for the stuff that they took. I thought that was kind of a cool touch. Um, but yeah, I mean, I love part two a lot. I think it's just a really fun movie, and um, you kind of get more stuff happening with the tall man instead of just being a an ominous figure. Um, yeah, and there's just again like some of the actions wild and cool, and the score is just it's completely epic this time around. And I absolutely love it. So those are some of the things I really enjoy about it.
What about complaints? Is there anything at all that just doesn't work for you?
I think there's a couple things sort of in the middle that are kind of that kind of slows it down a little bit. The stuff with the priest. I think
Yeah.
well the end of that whole thing is kind of cool. Just like anytime it cut back to him and it cut back to the girl and her family,
Hmm.
I felt like it just kind of dragged a little bit. Whereas I was fully invested on the whole thing with Mike and Reggie. So
Mm.
I think sort of in the middle, it kind of drags a little bit, but um, yeah. What about you?
Yeah. I I couldn't tell you. I hate to be that way, but I mean, I remember a lot and a little at the same time. But like most of the stuff that I remember takes place when they find that house later in the movie. I hate that I wasn't able to watch this. Seriously, this job's kicking my ass, and I was busy all weekend. Um, but I mean, I have better recollections of 3 and 4 than this one for sure. And I feel bad that I didn't get the chance to watch it again because I was actually looking forward to it, and I plan on rewatching it before we get to next week's show when we do 3, 4, and 5. But I don't know. This one is way more polished for sure. I do know. I can tell
Yeah,
you that. And I never really had a problem with. I don't know. I think there's something about 3 that I really like. The idea of the fun house, the kind of ninja girl, and Reg. The best part about all these movies is that Reg is not always thinking with the right head, which it seems it's more evident in this than it was in the first movie because he was just an ice cream man, and this one, he's got a chance, and Mike's got a chance, and Reggie gets his bald head licked, which I'm still waiting for somebody to do that to me. Uh, and then of course, the reveal while they're driving is really cool. There's some things I remember here and there. Of course, the shotgun is, and then that scene actually where you were talking about a minute ago about where they're kind of gearing up and getting the supplies. That's a great scene. That is definitely one that kind of sticks out, especially since I kind of not use that, but
yeah.
I was writing something and I was like, man, that if it was a zombie story and if it was a zombie apocalypse, that's the first thing I do is what Reg and Mike do, go get fucking armed up. Now I wouldn't put money in the cash register. That's pointless. But I don't know. I can't say much about it. I hate that except for Chainsaw Fight. Um, I saw 3 in the theater as a kid. See, and that's the other thing. I didn't start watching the Phantasm movies till just a few years ago. I prefer the original, but 2 is right up there. Much more accessible to the average person than trying to get into the whole series. Actually, 2 is the hardest to watch now. It's not streaming anywhere. You have to buy it or pay to rent it to watch it. It's not streaming for free anywhere. And this one, that's the other thing.
It
Like
was actually
even
one of the last ones to.
go ahead and finish.
Uh, it was one of the last ones to get a physical media release. I mean, even back in the early 2000s, because Universal owned it. I remember having in my collection, I had the DVDs of 1 and 4 because they were both from MGM. And
Hmm.
then eventually 3 came out. And then a little bit later, then they finally released a DVD of part 2. Um, It's just like one of those weird things where it's because it's Universal owned, you know.
And see, I have my first copy of Part Two. It was on a multi-pack with a movie called All S's and two other movies. I can't remember what was on there, but that's how I had to get it at first. And going back to before J.J. Abrams did uh, the restoration of the original film, the two and the first movie, like just getting the DVDs itself. And this was before Scream Factory, because Scream Factory released two. One of the earlier editions was Phantasm II. But before that, getting Phantasm and Phantasm 2 on DVD was expensive as fuck. It was they were hard to come by because they were already out of print by the mid 2000s, or the 2010s. I mean, when I started trying to watch them. But luckily, of course, I got where'd it go? I guess I put it back. But I got a 5-pack. I think it's Wellgo USA made it. All 5 movies individually cased.
Yep.
With it's a fantastic set. Comes with a little book, and it's the best way to have them. Before I bought the J.J. Abrams. I hate putting his name on it, but the restoration when it came out, because that came out before the Blu-ray set, and I had the Scream Factory of 2 already. They do have 3, 4, and 5 on individual Blu-ray. Also, if you're missing just those 3, which I kind of want to have because the art is so good on those. And that's it. It's the art.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Phantasm, unfortunately, is. I will say, while I like the series, the franchise a lot, it's not one I visit very often because it's not like I'm like Elm Street or Friday the 13th. I could just throw those on anytime. Halloween, you know. Phantasm is like one of those ones I really got to be in the mood for, you know. And it's not because they're bad. They're not bad at all. Because when I watch the first one, I'm like, yes, okay, let's watch the second one, or let's what you know what I'm saying. And that's like a couple years ago, Joe Bob Briggs on Shudder did a Phantasm. He did all 5 movies, or he did a marathon, I should say. He did not have 2 because of Universal. Universal is a bunch of cocksuckers. I'm just saying. But Shudder didn't have the rights for 2, so they went 1, 3, 4, and 5. It's like, and that's how I actually saw Ravager because I hadn't seen Ravager yet. And I don't hate Ravager. I don't think it's that bad at all. Actually, there's some really nice moments in there, and it's bad. And then that's one of the things I like about 3. Going back to talk about 2, 2 is less of a mind trip. I think when you said that, you know, if you say that you understand Phantasm, you're lying, or whatever it was you said. Well, two I feel like is more linear. There's some trippy moments in there, but nothing like the first movie. And then I have to say that 3 kind of goes right back into that trippy element because Universal's fingers weren't in the pot as much, and it's not as cohesively linear as 2 is. Which you know, and I think was it you today? I've been so busy I barely could check anything. But you know, it does feel like this movie is like a precursor to Supernatural in a way. I kind of mentioned that earlier. But yeah, no, 2 is good. It's 2 like I put 2.
Did you see the link that I sent you?
No, because I've been busy. I barely like. I had to all the stuff that's gone up on the Horror Syndicate's Facebook page the last few days. I had to schedule ahead of time. Like the hour between dropping the kids off at school and getting ready for work has been me scheduling shit. And if I look and see you put something in the group, I'll put it up on the Facebook page. Like, but that's I've barely been able to do anything. It's this job sucking my fucking soul. I miss my old life. When I was able to do shit. Anyway, yeah, we got a couple comments we'll go through here real fast. I prefer the original, but 2, I think we already saw that. Yep. How about this one? Yeah. A movie that makes Phantasm, Evil Dead, and Reanimator would have been legendary. Ash Reg, Oldsmobile Cuda, Jeffrey Combs as Herbert West. All together against the tall man. That who is related to that? That would be a wild ass movie. That'd be a wild ride for sure. And Sean says he owns all 5. Good.
There is another.
There's another what?
There's a comment I just want to highlight real quick.
Okay. Which one?
So yes, this was like this is why part 5 was a little disappointing, because part 4, I mean parts 3 and 4 really kind of lead you to this idea of Mike possibly being groomed as a new tall man. And there's a sequence in part 4 where it's like where Mike is driving, and just like it's like the side profile of his face, and like the way his face looks, like it kind of resembles Angus a little bit. And then of course there's like another sequence in there as well where Mike, I think, has a nightmare about himself, wearing a suit and being tall. Like I felt like they were really building up to that, and then part 5 just kind of fumbled the ball with that. But I felt like that would have been a way for the series to even continue on too, is with, um, perhaps that storyline being fulfilled, and Mike, is the tall man, and then Reggie is trying to fight to save his soul or something. I don't know. Yeah. I have some ideas of what they could do with that, but I'm not sharing them here. But
how close was Coscarelli on that movie? Because he didn't direct it. I know that, right?
He didn't direct it, but he did co-write it. I mean, really, what Ravager started off with just being, it was originally just going to be a web series. So they shot a lot of stuff in secret, and that's why it does look a little weird, because there's certain scenes that were, I think one of the earlier sequence with Reggie driving in the car and the balls chasing him and him getting out and shooting at him. Mm-hmm. I think that was, just for a sequence for the web series, but then they kind of had the idea of putting it together as a full movie, and so they just kind of, I think they just kind of patched everything in and tried to make it a movie, and with what they already shot, as opposed to kind of coming up with a cohesive script and just doing it traditionally. And the thing with Ravager too is like it you could feel that Coscarelli wasn't behind the camera. I mean, he was involved. He's a producer. He was there. Yeah, he was co-writer. But like, there's something about the way Coscarelli shoots these movies. It's like it's just missing by the time you get to Ravager, and that's kind of a shame. It doesn't have like the same energy that Coscarelli brings to it.
It would have been great if he would have been able to direct all 5 movies. So maybe they can remake it. They can say 5's not canon and go with a different story. Something they should do with Star Wars. I work in McDonald's. Could be worse. Yeah, I mean, I work for a bank. It's not the job itself. It's just I have 6 weeks of training, and it's all reading on the internet, and it's just making me so tired. And by the time I get home, I'm just worn out from reading. Anyway, part 5 is an abomination of a movie. So bad. Sad. I don't know. There are parts of 5 that I like, and most of it has to do with whether or not Reggie, it's all in Reggie's mind, or like there's the it kind of goes back and forth between him in a home, and then him with that woman at the country house or whatever. I thought that was kind of cool. And then there's the scenes with him. It's okay. It's not the best for sure. I know it's. I don't think it's an abomination. Last
I think it's
image. Huh?
I think it's watchable. I mean, I don't have a problem watching it.
Last image would be Mike leaving through the dimensional portal in the tall man suit. with a small dwarf following him. The dwarf is wearing a ponytail. Yeah. Reg is getting kind of old. The real Reg. It's hard to keep going. He's almost 80, I think, at this point. But I don't know. I guess I'm thankful for what we got as far as with Reggie. I love Reggie. I think he's one of the more underrated horror heroes, if you will. Right up there, in my opinion, with Ash. I know that probably make a lot of people like, oh no no no, what are you talking about? Reggie's awesome. He had the foresight.
Poor Reggie
To,
doesn't. Poor Reggie. His quest to get
no,
laid.
yeah, all he wants is some good stuff. But like Reg, he's got a weapon that is should be iconic. I think the problem with Phantasm as a franchise as a whole is there's not a huge fan base as there are for things like Evil Dead, and it could be. I like. I wonder why that is because I think part of it is because the first two movies were theatrical. I think those were the only two that were theatrical, right?
Yeah.
Dramatic pause. And I think that's part of the problem. Not to mention,
I,
uh, it's there's so many years and they're so bizarre. I mean, you can keep track of what's going on with Evil Dead versus Phantasm. I think that might push people away. But I did see a lot of people saying that Phantasm, the first one, scared them when they were younger, so that's always good. Um, what's this here? Sean says you could do a decent remake of Phantasm. I think the issue would be would they Phantasm is not. Yeah, that's what I was basically saying. It's true. Unfortunately, it's not a very popular series. Um, but we like it.
it didn't catch on like it probably should
The whole joke of Reggie not getting laid gets old fast. You don't like anything. I don't think it does at all because he gets so close, and and then it gets taken
in every
away
movie.
in every movie. Yeah. Well, not
Yeah.
really the first one. I mean, unless he's trying to bang Mike in front of the fire. I love part two the most. It was the first one I watched. Same with Evil Dead 2. Phantasm 2 just nails everything from Reggie to the Cuda. There's a lot of love for the Cuda. There is. And what's funny when Joe Bob did that marathon, he actually said the reason they weren't showing two is because they destroyed the Cuda, and that is against his rules or something like that. So if you haven't seen that marathon, I don't know if it's still on Shutter or not, but it was worth watching. You get to see the first one, the third, the fourth, and Ravager with Joe Bob popping in and out. Okay, we have a couple things that anybody. I'm just going to remind everybody again. I'm going to probably say it a lot until I'm thinking about making a little commercial for give me and Seth like a 15-second break, but we have a lot of places to hang out and just talk horror. The Horror Syndicate on Facebook, the YouTube channel. If you have a Gmail, you can sign up or not sign up, but subscribe to the YouTube channel. We have the Facebook group where you can start your own conversations or follow along with all the stuff Seth's been posting, articles, uh, the polls, which I still think it's stupid that we can't do that on the fucking Facebook page. But yeah, and then of course the horrorsyndicate.com with all kinds of great articles that you can check out. But let's talk about ratings. You give Phantasm 2 88%, which is barely higher than your Phantasm score.
They're very close. The first two are very close for me. Um, again,
Honestly.
I think it's I don't really. It's not like I'm not knocking the first one, but I think this one is a little bit better directed, and I think that is because he did have a budget. He did have studio backing, and he was able to shoot it on a regular shooting schedule as opposed to just kind of
Oh yeah.
get into it when they can. And so the direction and cinematography I think are much better. So I rate them pretty high. The score, the score I give a 10. I fucking love the score for this movie, for all of them really. Uh, the editing was good. The writing, um, I think I gave that a 7. There's some lines of dialogue that aren't great. There's some things that happen that aren't spectacular. Effects, I would give a 10. I think the effects are fucking awesome in this movie. The kills are pretty damn good too. Entertainment factor, I give it a 10 because, like I said at the beginning of the show tonight, this movie evokes a similar feeling that I get like when I watch Elm Street 4. And that is, it just brings me joy and happiness. So I have a lot of love for the Phantasm franchise as a whole, and especially for this film. Yeah, so I came up with 88%. I think it's a strong movie and I think fairly underrated / overlooked franchise.
Mhm.
That it's just, again, like I said last week, this is just such a weird and unique series of horror films. There's nothing like it out there. Like you could, I mean, slashers. There's like millions of slashers that are all kind of feel the same. I can't think of anything that feels like Phantasm. And
No.
Phantasm 2 is just the Phantasm 2 is just the one that I gravitate towards the most. Um, so yeah, 88%. I love this movie.
And based on what I can remember, I gave it an 85%. It's uh it's a good entry overall. It's just not my favorite of the bunch. Like you said, there's nothing like the original. One thing I will say is when I think of the tall man, this is how I picture him in my head. Not like from the first movie.
Yeah,
Which I think is kind
yeah.
of strange. It's just that look on his face, right? That's what I imagine him. But yeah, I like this movie. I'm gonna re-rate it after I watch it again. But based on what I can remember, because you're right, I do remember the score was popping. It was popping, yo.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of fun things about this movie. It's kind of a road movie in a way, And and
Hmm.
as much as I love Reg, I don't give a shit what anybody says, and I love him in this movie. He's at his best in this movie. Um, well, he's really good in 3 also, in my opinion. But yeah, overall, I'll re-rate this. But for now, we've got a combined score of 87%. So yeah, pretty good. Our fan score from today was 86%. So everybody's pretty much on the same page for the most part. 86% is pretty high for our followers. Although they did give Phantasm an 87%. So I think that's kind of funny. It's everything's in the 80s for us as far as Phantasm goes. Until for the first 2 movies, until we get to the 3, 4, and 5, I'm sure that the numbers will go down a little bit, and that's okay. And the thing is, like, I feel like the overall
I
rankings
mean
are
that
always going to end up
the
1, 2, 3, or 4, 5. What? Say again?
it's all those scores are pretty consistent. I mean, it kind of almost feels like 1 and 2 are regarded pretty well the same from the whole crowd.
Yeah.
I got like a 20-second delay or
Yeah.
something.
It's pretty delayed. That's pretty cool. I'd love to meet Reg. He's on my list. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what the scores are. I'm gonna put up the things for them tomorrow. The 5-star ratings for 3, 4, and Ravager. Looking back at the old ones, the old 5 stars, Ravager was really not treated very nicely. I will say that. Um, but yeah, next week we are going to go ahead and hit all 3 of the final films: Phantasm, Lord of the Dead, Oblivion, and Ravager. And I've seen those more than I've seen too, so it'll be more interesting of a show. Um, and then on the following Thursday, which I believe is the 29th, or Wednesday, following Wednesday, we are going to end our Phantasm. Hey, come along on our Phantasm journey. Um, fantastic voyage. Fantastic joy. I'm tired. Ugh. Anyway, we're going to be doing our ranking show of the Phantasm, all 5 Phantasm movies. Like I said, I think it's going to go in order, end up in order. Yeah, one, 5 being the worst, then 4, then 3, then 2, then 1. Um, and I think that's okay. Two has a slight edge, or not a slight edge, but a slight chance to beat out 1 on our joint. I got to rewatch 2 and then redo my score. As of right now, it doesn't. But yeah, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Let's see what we're at. We're
Spoiler alert!
13
Spoiler alert for me.
for what?
Okay, it's like a 10-second delay. I
Okay.
was gonna say spoiler alert for me. I have a strong love for Oblivion.
There's good stuff in Oblivion. Um, yeah, so
Hmm.
we'll be definitely tackling those 3 uh, next week, and then of course the ranking show, and then of course December we've got An American Werewolf in London, American Werewolf in Paris, Life Force, and Lord of Illusion. Is it Lord of Illusions? Is it plural? You can never tell
It's plural.
with Clive Barker movies. Is it Hellraisers or Hellraiser? Is it Night Watch or Night Watch? Nightbreed or Night Breeds? Fucking Night Watch. I gotta get some rest, man. I'm fucking losing it. Um. Anyway, Seth, is there anything else you want to say about Phantasm 2 before we get out of here? I know it's a shorter episode, but I'm dying over here. Plus, I just ate some
No,
turkey.
it's all right. Yeah, go get some rest, man.
You have nothing else you want to say about Phantasm 2?
No, I think I've said everything I wanted to say. If I remember anything, I'll just mention it next week. Because I'm sure. Because next week we should start with at least get your refreshed thoughts on part 2. Because you said you're going to watch it before you do 3, 4,
If
and
I
5, right?
can, yeah, I'm gonna do my best. I have a meeting with my comic book partner on Saturday, and then I got a friendsgiving thing on Sunday, and then I'm back to work. So who knows? Luckily, though, before a ranking show, I do have a 4-day weekend after that for Thanksgiving and everything. So I'm fucking like my before I started this job, man. I had like 6 hours between the show and when I got off of work, and now it's nothing like that, and it sucks. I miss my old life. I hate what Home Depot did to me. Um, and I'm not gonna really explain. Before we go though, I do want to show, trying to make sure you guys know that we have a Facebook group. And if you're on Facebook, and I know not everybody's on Facebook, you can go to the group and I'll show you what it looks like. And sign up, not sign up. Why keep saying sign up? There's nothing to sign up for. You just request to join, and we'll let you in. This is what it looks like. Of course, the stuff on the left you won't see, but yeah, this is it. And Seth's been putting stuff like this. Girl, you must be part werewolf because I'm liking what I see. And just all kind. Frankie's getting involved. I've known Frankie for like a decade now. Big horror fan, and people are just getting involved. And here's one of the polls for today. You can go vote on it. It's 39 votes already. But favorite werewolf movie. I voted, and I don't see my vote. It's right there. Bam. You know I love Silver Bullet. Oh, that's because I'm logged in as a Horror Syndicate. That's why. So the Horror Syndicate loves Silver Bullet. How about that? Anyway, go check out the Facebook group. Have some fun talking horror with other horror fans. And then, of course, subscribe. We're 14 subs away from 1,500, which is our goal for the end of the year. Phantasm, yes, they are both good. If you ever meet A. Michael Baldwin, ask him to sign your Phantasm II poster. Yeah. For a second, I was going to be like, I don't have a Phantasm 2 poster, but yeah, I get that. I got that.
That almost went over my head for a minute there.
Yeah, me too. Thanksgiving is not a movie that is coming out. So Thanksgiving, yes, I'm planning on seeing that myself. So,
Yeah.
That's if I can, if I have time. Fucking, my life's a joke right now. Anyway, enough of my bitching. Everybody have a great night. Have a great weekend. Watch some more horror. At some point, Seth and I are going to do a fun Evil Dead show and it will probably be on a Sunday because the Horror Syndicate Discourse is on hiatus until next year because of personal stuff. I'm not going to get into why. But Nate's going to be out until at least January, 1st of January. But we're going to talk about Evil Dead theories, why 2013 is not a fucking remake. I can't stress that enough. May just call it why Evil Dead 2013 is not a remake. That might be that might be the name of the episode. But we'll be doing that very soon. Have a very scary day from Isaiah, and we'll see you next week when talking about fan. Hopefully, I'm more awake and not as tired, man. Okay. Anyway, Seth, have a great night. Everyone out there, have a great night. We'll see you next week. Bye.